What is up, guys? Welcome back to yet another video. My name is Franco Torres and I'm a guitar player based in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I record videos and post them online, sometimes talking about pedals, gear, guitars, lessons, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, feel free to subscribe and join along the journey. Today we're talking about one of my favorite pedals as of recent, the Red Panda Particle version 2, which I'm gonna put somewhere around here so you can see it in the magical screen. It's one of my favorite pedals, like I said. It's a very interesting delay, considering that it's not just a delay, but also a pitch shifter. They call it a granular delay and pitch shifter, but basically what makes it different is that it has real-time synthesis effects built into it. So, or not rather effect, but synthesis concepts built into it. So essentially how the pitch shifting and the granular portion works is kind of like along the same principles of synthesis, which is kind of not a surprise at all if you've been following the Red Panda pedal lineup in general and kind of like where they come from and all of the kind of stuff that they post on their website. Because they're always, posting about, synths on these pedals, and at some point I am looking into trying it as well, because I do have a Micro Freak and the Venom that you can see over at the back, and an SP404 that I'd like to kind of like run through it and see, what kind of effects you can get. But I'm mainly a guitar player, so, obviously this review is going to be with a guitar. And I'm going to kind of like read a little bit of the specs, just because honestly, it's such a well-designed pedal, and it has so many features that it's, one, hard to memorize all of them, but two, it's a lot. I mean, the manual alone is about 53 pages, which that's quite a lot nowadays, considering that no one wants to put a manual on a box anymore, right? And obviously I've got it over here pulled up online, but yeah, it's really cool. Shameless plug real quick, and I'm sorry, I'm too close. I have noticed that a lot of the people that watch the video kind of like come through and continue on to the YouTube space. I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the video. It'll definitely help me and kind of encourage me to make more of these kinds of videos. This is my hobby. I do plan on maybe potentially, hopefully, turning this into something more than just a hobby. So please do consider subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. And yeah, I'll keep on going with the rest of the video. What you came for, the demo. So essentially we've got 8 different modes 5 that are delay, and then 3 that are going to be on the pitch shifting mode. Obviously, all of them are going to have some sort of delay mixed into it, but essentially, if we're looking at them, we've got the mode 1, which is delay dense. So essentially, it's delay plus grain density. We've got the delay LFO. So essentially, now the parameter is the LFO speed. If you don't know what LFO is, I don't either. Kidding, it's low frequency oscillator. So essentially, you've got the delay plus a low frequency oscillator in the parameters, which you can control with the knob. Essentially, you control the speed of the LFO, which is pretty cool. The third mode is going to be delay reverse, which, yeah, it's pretty standard reverse delay. Sounds great. I did use it on the intro track for a little bit. We've got the delay pitch, so essentially delay plus pitch, and it's a random pitch jump, which should be again in the demo from the intro, and at some portion of this video you're gonna see it again. I love it because it jumps all the way up and all the way down and kind of randomizes. I am running it on stereo and everything's playing through the quad cortex. By the way, I'm using a Fender Custom Shop Strat with a different kind of pickup on the bridge. It's a Thornbucker, and I'm using that quite a bit. The other pickups are kind of based around 60 Strat pickups, and I'm running that all through the RC booster for a little bit of gain. And going into the quad cortex, using a couple amplifiers there. At some point, I'm going to have my actual profile on my neural DSP cloud. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I'll link it down below. And we've got the particle, which I'm running on the actual quad cortex, right? And again, I'm running it in stereo, which is pretty cool because besides randomizing like the pitch, it randomizes where the pitch will actually go to. So like sometimes the upper notes are going to be maybe on this side, and then maybe the lower notes are going to be on this one. Maybe it kind of like randomizes and it'll do kind of like on this side a little bit more than on this side. It does all sorts of crazy things. It's awesome. It sounds great. Then we're on the 5th position. We've got delay R&D, which is random delay. Sounds awesome. Does a lot of really, kind of like random stuff, and it does a little bit more of that, kind of like playing in one side more than the other. So the pitch detune actually is really interesting because it also kind of does a little bit of what the Earthquaker Devices Rainbow Machine does. I think that's really, really cool because it doubles down as that kind of effect, but it also will do everything else that I just mentioned, right? The second out of the pitch portion, we've got pitch and LFO. So again, we got that low frequency oscillator going on as well as the pitch. And then on the third one, we've got the pitch plus the grain density, which again, it's pretty darn cool. I've got a couple of the different effects that I'm gonna keep showing off throughout the video, but to kind of like go through some of the sounds that I'm using, because I'm mainly using the presets, at least for the beginning portion of the demo. Then throughout the rest of the snippets that you're going to be seeing, I am kind of just cycling through them and going through some different effects and doing some different stuff to the knobs and pressing down on the tap button. The tap button actually has a couple of really interesting features because it doesn't only tap the the delay time, but if you press on it, it'll freeze and it'll kind of ramp up to the freeze and just start freezing and looping to some extent, which is pretty darn cool. But also, if you step on it twice in the second press, you just leave it on, it'll go back to where, whatever you set it onto. So you don't have to necessarily be on the tap mode. I kind of go back and forth with it, especially when I'm changing through the presets live, because I do change, the presets, especially per song, because I do have, out of the 4 presets, I do have one for reverse delay, because I like to kind of like go into that ethereal side and do some soundscapes on some songs or between some songs. And there's another preset that I'm using, and I do have this on the video. I'm gonna play it hopefully after this. This effect that you just heard is kind of like me doubling down a little bit on the guitar, so kind of almost as a doubler, but also doubling that pitch up. So kind of makes the guitar sound a little bit like a 12-string guitar. So I've got a cover band that we will sometimes, rip out the Stairway to Heaven, just because not a lot of people actually play Stairway to Heaven live, even though it's one of the most played songs and overly played songs, and it's awesome, but it's overly played. So we'll sometimes rip it out, and when we do, I'll turn that on and I'll kind of like mimic that 12 string sound. It sounds great. I mean, there's a little bit of latency there, obviously, just because it's not gonna pitch real time, because you're using it as, it's a delay pedal, right? It's not necessarily a pitch shifter first. It's more of the granular delay and all that kind of stuff. So there's, it's not going to be necessarily real time, but it's workable, right? Like it kind of, if you take the time down as much as possible, which is what I did for that, you can get pretty darn close to a 12-string sound, which blows my mind. I think it's fantastic. A really cool sounding pedal. The on button, forgot to mention this. The on button has a momentary function as well. So if you press on it and you just keep pressing on it, it'll turn on for a bit, and then as soon as you stop pressing it, it'll turn off. So it's kind of like an unlatching mode. Again, super cool the fact that they have that, and it lends itself well if you have kind of like a tabletop pedal board and you've got one hand on the synth and then the other one kind of like just messing around with the knobs, or if you're sequencing and sending some patterns into your effects, you can really do a lot of stuff with it, and play along with the sound. It's kind of like the freeze, and if you're ramping up the freeze, you can play along with the other knobs and kind of just get it to sound really, well, really synth-like. Very much thought out after kind of like the thought process of synth guys, which is why I really like this pedal. I think it's fantastic. Another one that's become one of my favorites is the Shameless Mood, which I also have on the board right next to it. And I'll also make a video on that one. That pedal is just, again, another one of those pedals that has a massive manual. Just takes too much time to go through it. And I'm not necessarily pretending to go deep into the manual and talk about everything, but just to kind of show off the pedal a little bit and what kinds of sounds you can expect out of it, because I think it definitely added more creativity to my playing and to kind of like my approach to soundscapes and just generating different stuff, both live and in the studio recording. I've used it quite a bit in some of the upcoming recordings that I've got, both with my band and as a side guy with some country acts that I recorded last year. Super stoked for that. But yeah, it's a fantastic pedal. If you're looking for something weird that can do a little bit of the traditional, but more than not, it's going to be a really weird pedal that can fit in any mix, 100% try out the Red Panda Particle. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please drop them down below. If you have any thoughts on the pedal, I'd love to hear what you guys think. the comment section, you know where it is. You can like if you're into that kind of stuff, and subscribe if you want to, you know, kind of like follow along with the journey. I'm really close to the 1,000 subscriber mark, and I'm super excited for that. It's been something that I've been wanting to kind of like get to for a while, so I'm super happy to be kind of like closing in there. And hopefully, I'll see you guys on the next one.